So you are doing some research here.
Yeah, so Cam the intern
Got his own podcast.
got his own podcast, but it looks good.
Looks good. Logos, good
Maybe
graphics.
it sounds good, too.
Oh, Cam. Hardworking kid.
Cam?
Yeah.
Every day that kid's stock goes up a little
Does
bit.
it?
A little bit.
Ryan, her three on the way. It's good off the backboard and in. Murray, what a take by Tucker. Jones, another steal. Spin on Caldwell, and the layup's good.
I would like to see you hold a mirror up to yourself and interview yourself. As good as this was, it could only be better if it was all you.
Tuning in, I was a fan. I was like, man, let's do it.
Cam, thanks so much for having me on. I'm happy to be here.
Joined today for the first time, Cam Isimone. Gallagher's going to have to shoot it from beyond the arc. And it's good! Jacobs for three. He got it! My goodness, what a shooting performance by
For me,
Jacobs.
I think Cam's corner is great.
Tune in to Cam's Corner.
This kid's going to make it. He's going to make it here.
On a break.
And we are back, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Cam's Corner. Again, it's been a minute. Again, I appreciate you guys for tuning into the documentary. Still at the top of my YouTube, so if you guys haven't checked it out, go check out my home documentary on Coach Dan Mazzulla. Like I said, appreciate all the support. But today joining me is senior guard at Johnson & Wales University in Providence, Cranston native from Rhode Island, Arias Raspberry. Arias, thanks for taking the time joining me, man. I appreciate it.
No doubt. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. And the first thing I want to ask you right off the bat is, will you be returning for a fifth year at Johnson & Wales?
Yeah, as of right now, yeah, I will be.
There you go. That's it. That's how we started off the show. And every time I start off the show, I always ask players or coaches or whatever, whoever I talk to, where that passion for what they love sparked from. So for you, basketball is obviously your passion. So at a young age, where did that passion for the game of basketball kind of spark from?
Really just being around it. So I have an older brother. My older brother played. My dad coached him at St. Matthews in Cranston. We both went to school there. So I was just around the game at a young age, going to my brother's games, practices, and I was always playing, shooting around, chasing rebounds for people on the team. And I know as that went on, I ended up playing. I was about 5 years old. My dad subbed me into a fifth grade game. My brother was in fifth grade at the time. And I scored like 6 points. And from then on, I knew exactly what I wanted to do at 5 years old.
Yeah, and kind of from that age and on, developing your game, who were kind of the role models you looked up to as far as like people in your life, not so much like NBA guys that you looked up to, but people in your life that mentored you, the types of teams, AAU programs and camps that you went to that helped develop you as a player?
Honestly, what inspired me was the people in my life were literally my dad, my brother, that whole fifth grade team that my dad coached and my brother played on, my cousin Napoleon. It was them that really just set it off for me. And then as I got older, obviously I started going to basketball camps. Like Camp Barrow was super inspiring for me. Shout out to Calvin Jones. I started gaining more love for that because I was a three-sport athlete growing up. I played baseball, basketball, and football. And I was always wondering what I wanted to do with that, but basketball was my first love.
Yeah,
I had to quit everything else.
Yeah, I feel that. I played basketball in high school too at Johnston. And one year I went to Camp Barrow. I remember like all you guys were there, David, Cole, all those guys were there. And I was like, this is not for me, man. Like I'm not at this level of all these guys and all that. But, to kind of see like to be in this spot and to talk to all you guys, to see where you're at. I think that's like probably one of the coolest jobs in the world in the sports aspect. So talk about your game a little bit more, just watching your game now and, the highlight reels that you put out, making like highly contested shots. I feel like you get to the basket with ease and draw a lot of contact with your game and stuff like that. Going back to like the role model part, who are the kind of NBA players that you looked up to kind of, mold your game around when you were growing up?
I don't know. I don't really have any. Well, I watched a lot of Chris Paul, Rajon Rondo growing up. Derrick Rose is my all-time favorite point guard, though. I love him to death. Like that was his guy. I know my game wasn't going to reflect his, but the things he did on the court was just amazing, and it always sparked my eyes. So, but trying to mold my game after, it's probably just Chris Paul. Chris Paul was just people my age know. Chris Paul was just he was a dog back then.
Yeah, when you were at a young age, like you knew you wanted to handle the rock and be like the number one guard, or was it kind of like finding you wanted to develop around those kind of guys like you said, Chris Paul and Derrick Rose. As far as your shot goes too, like obviously you're a left-handed shooter. I feel like it's very unique to come across a lefty dominant player because it's not, a lot you see in Rhode Island for one, but who kind of inspired that, or was it kind of just you kind of gravitating towards your left hand?
Honestly, it's a crazy story. So a lot of people don't know this, but I'm really right hand dominant. I just shoot
Mhm.
left-handed. Like the only thing I do with my left hand is shoot a basketball and right left-handed. Everything else I do is with my right hand. And it's crazy because I was in preschool and my preschool teacher tried to make me right-handed, but it was crazy uncomfortable. So I ended up writing with my left hand one day, and she was like, "He's a natural lefty." But I feel like that's where I got my strength from with my right hand. So like if you see me attack the basket a lot, I'm really scoring with my right hand a lot. I'm using my right hand floater, but that's a little backstory on why I use my right hand more than on my left.
Yeah, you talked too about like the early camps that you started off with, and that obviously like progressed throughout high school too with Camp Arrow and all those AAU programs. But starting off high school at Cranston East, kind of just talk about like your success there, what it was like to compete at a Division I level, and then kind of capping it all off as an 1,000-point scorer, like kind of like full circle ending.
So yeah, Cranston East, that was like the best time of my life. Basketball was like the most fun there. I was playing with kids that I grew up playing against. I mean, playing with in my city, playing from CLC I've traveled with, going to ninth grade and playing senior year with them, making the Final Four my senior year. But it was a beautiful journey. I gained a lot of respect in my city from kids, my peers, like teachers, people in like the administrative office. Like I've just I've gained a lot of respect from people like that. And it was just the best time of my life. I feel like I developed as a player a lot there. I had a great coach there. He really believed in me, really gave me like all-time confidence. And the guys I played with were just they had my back no matter what. We all gelled together. Like we never had any problems together, nothing. I love those guys to death. And when I felt like I was out there with them, I felt like I can beat anybody, truthfully.
Yeah, and like I mentioned too, like capping everything off as a 1,000-point score, and then kind of looking
Oh
back
yeah,
at
yeah.
all the things. But like, kind of to add on to that, like, what are those accolades? What does that mean to you? I mean, obviously, some players say it's all about like winning and teamwork and all that. But for you, what does that mean to have those kind of accolades in your honor?
It means a lot. I mean, I put the work in, so
Yeah.
I put a lot of work in high school. I'm still putting a lot of work in. I'm still chasing accolades, but just as far as high school, like I put I put so much time in. So knowing that I was 1,000-point scorer, like that night was crazy. Like I had the whole entire gym chanting my name. Um, I didn't get to win. I didn't get to win the championship. That would have been most like that would have solidified my career there.
Mm.
But I put a lot of work in high school. So every accolade I got, I felt like it was well deserved.
What do you think some of the hardest like competition was in at Cranston East?
Definitely that Hendricken team. I never got to beat them. Yeah, I never got to
Yeah.
beat Hendricken. Mount Pleasant was really good. They were a really good team, and honestly, there was a lot of great teams throughout my high school career that I played against that I either never got to beat or I went even with like 1-1, 2-2, and stuff like that. But yeah, the competition was it was really good back then.
Yeah, and Rhode Island too. Over the years, has birthed a lot of like star athletes that we've seen. Obviously, David and Cole and NBA now, and someone like Tyler Kolek at the Big East level. I mean, the list goes on, like I said. But being so close with those guys, like you said, at Camp Arrow, and just kind of playing with them throughout your days, how are you able to make them better players with the chemistry that you have, and how has their success kind of motivated you to get to that next step as well?
I can easily speak on how it motivates me because I haven't spoke to David or Cole in a long time, but when
Mm.
I do see him, it's all love, of course. But like being in the gym with Tyler every summer he's here, it's like we go at it every single time, and he's grown every single summer he's came back to Rhode Island, and I'm literally with him with a weightlifting coach and in the gym, and it's just to see his progress. It motivates me. We go in the gym, play against each other. We play on the same team. We just it's something that we both love to do, and it just all it is really now is just about getting better and getting better and getting better, and that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, and those runs in the summer too. I know you're familiar with Chris Cherry. I'm gonna probably be there this summer, with you guys. doing something kind of like this. Doing some like editing things and film work for you guys. But I'm excited to see because I've never been obviously at those runs and to see them over the summer, to see all those guys like yourself and Tyler just work out with like the top athletes in Rhode Island. It's kind of surreal to see. So for someone like you, I'm excited to see where your journey takes you after your 5th year. I'm excited that you're going to be joining JWU for one more year. But as far as the high school level went, after you graduated or even during your senior year as well, like what was kind of the attention around your name as far as like college? Like what were some of the colleges that were on your radar?
I didn't have many colleges on my radar my senior year. I was really trying to go to prep school. I was really trying to do a post grad year after my senior year, but I didn't really have great options, nor did I have enough money to go to prep school. But schools that were looking at me coming out of high school was obviously one, Johnson and Wales. I had Keene State, Nichols, I had Penn State Abington, I had a few others. I had Rick, of course. But yeah, I feel like Johnson and Wales was a good decision that I made out of my options that I did have.
Yeah, and ultimately why did you decide to go there out of all those schools?
I knew the coach very well. He was I first met him, he was always going to Camp Arrow to shoot. He put on a shooting performance. If you don't know, my coach Jamie Benz, definitely hands down one of the top shooters in the world. And I'm not just saying that because he's my coach. Like I've witnessed it as a kid, and the things that he's taught me being on his team now, it's ridiculous. But I had a relationship with him, and I've known a few other alumni that was there who had really good success and ended up playing at the professional level after college, and it was close to home. My family could come out and see me every single game, so that's pretty much why I went to Johnson and Wales. I knew if I kept working hard, I could still succeed the career that I want after high school. I mean, after college.
Yeah, for sure. And like your first taste of college basketball, kind of getting in, on campus. Obviously, like you said, it's close to home. But a few like players, like someone like Ricky Lito, obviously, like welcome to the NBA moment, kind of stuff like that. Like welcome to college moment. Like, what was your first taste of college basketball? You were like, all right, this isn't high school anymore. Like, this is a completely different level of play, and I got to kind of adjust quickly.
It was my first game of college. We was in Roanoke, Virginia. We played a school called York. It was a tournament. Man, the kids, honestly, I can't even call them kids. They were men. Like I was 18 years old. I was lifting, but I wasn't lifting like men were. So the physicality was a lot different. The speed was different, and the IQ. It was the IQ that these players have in different like regions of the country is crazy. Like that team was a well coached team, super high IQ'd, and they beat us by 40. And it was like I was like, all right. But I had a good game. I did have a good game. I knew I could compete at any level. So, but that was my welcome to college moment. I couldn't believe like how well the team was scoring on us, how much I was getting lost on defense. That was my welcome to college moment.
Yeah, and you said too, like you said, you felt you had like a good game. Could you talk about a game throughout your career at the college level where not that it kind of set you back, but you weren't like clicking, you weren't like it was probably one of the hardest competitive games that you've played in at your level, at that college level, if you can think of one.
I had a lot of trials my freshman year of college, so there was a few games like that. Because I was a freshman. I had an All-American on my team. There was about 4 or 5, maybe 5 or 6 returners on that team that won a championship 2 years prior to that. So my minutes were very limited my freshman year. So it was more like I couldn't really play through my mistakes because we had people just as good as me to be like on the court before me. So I'm just like, if I wasn't making shots, if I wasn't rebounding as a guard, if I wasn't playing defense, like it was little things like that that just kind of set me back as a freshman in college. But other than that, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say I was like really set back as a player.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like going forward with that after freshman year, kind of taking those punches. I like to talk to a lot of college athletes about this too. Is how does your mindset kind of like grow from that, and how did you kind of find yourself get into the rotation? I know like the COVID year kind of like paused everything, but from that year, how do you feel like you grew as a player and like your mindset grew as well with everything going on?
Yeah. So my freshman year, I started honestly. I started
Mm.
the first half of the year. I started all the way from first half of the year, from the second game of the season all the way up until January. January break. I ended up getting hurt. I ended up having severe bone bruising and fluid in my knee, so I had to sit out about 7 or 8 games. And once I came back, I wasn't starting anymore, but I was still playing. But can you repeat your question?
Like kind of just like something even like an injury too. Like what was your mindset like during that time, and
Yeah,
how did
yeah,
you feel
yeah.
like it grew from
So,
that?
so my mindset was really just I had to find a way to keep my confidence at an all time high, which was something honestly I probably haven't succeeded until this past season or maybe the end of last season. But um, yeah, it was just really just I know my love for the game, so staying in the gym, staying in shape, you know, lifting, doing everything right still because I knew my time would come because I knew I was going to be one of those prime players to come out of this program. So that was really all it was. It was just staying consistent, staying in the gym, and just believing in myself.
Yeah, and as the years progressed too, talk about some of the toughest players that you've had to face up against throughout your time there. If you could
My
remember like
toughest
specific guys, I
player.
know it's more so like teams, but if you could think of like guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely the GNAC player of the year this year. His name's EJ Day. He's a really tough guy. He's a really good dude. I had really tough guy that I had to defend. He's one of those short, crafty, shifty guys who know how to play make, who know how to score. He led the country in scoring the Division 3 this year. He was really good. There's two guards at St. Joe's, Connecticut, who won the last three GNAC championships. They're dogs. Honestly, those are like the top three guys in my conference that are like I really have to like be on my A game with.
Yeah, so Jay Woo's in the GNAC. Have you ever played Rick? I know Rick's in the Little East, but have you ever played them like in a non-conference game?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We played them my freshman year. So Keyshawn's one of my good
Yeah,
friends. He's definitely one of the tougher guys that I had to play against throughout my career in college.
that's my
Also,
guy.
I forgot the other point guard's name. He ended up
Cheyenne, right?
quitting. Yeah,
Yeah.
Sion. He's really good as well.
Yeah. What was it like kind of to come back home? Did you play at Rick or was it at JWU? Well, I
No, we
guess they're
played
both in Rhode
we
Island, but
yeah, we played at Rick.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess kind of going along those lines, kind of like you said, you're gonna come back for a graduate year. Looking back over the 4 years that you played there, 49 points away from 1,000. Over this summer, kind of building up to that point.
Damn, how'd you know that?
Do my research, man. I know my shit. I mean,
All right, I like that. Good, that's cool.
But yeah, so like I said, 49 points away from 1,000. I mean, that's obviously capable. Because I think it was this year, scored 35 points, like a career high at the college level. I mean, kind of what does that feel like? Kind of like the build up to that.
Honestly, it feels good, but I feel like with the amount of work that I put in, I should have had it. I should have had it way sooner. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I can't do that without putting in the work. I can't do that without having a coach that believes that I can score, and also teammates on the floor with me that get me shots, get me open, and you know. But yeah, that's it. I was a little upset with myself that I didn't have a 35-point game. Like I had a third my high 2 years ago was 31, but you know, I had a few opportunities to have a few 30-point games, but I mean it is what it is.
Yeah, COVID too, like I said, kind of messed that up too. If that year were to be, because I know JWU didn't play it, like you guys didn't play at all, right?
No, we had one exhibition game against Eastern Nazarene, and we ended up losing that game. That wasn't a good game.
Yeah, but I mean, going along those kind of lines too, like kind of like highlighted moments in your career. Like, what would you say like one of your favorite games you've been a part of so far this year has been, or not this year alone, but kind of like your whole career?
It would be this year for sure. It was a 35-point game that I had against Emmanuel.
Mm-hmm.
We came back from a 17-point. We was down 17 points, and the energy in the gym was crazy. It was the best team win that we've had in my 4 years that I've been there, and you had to have been there. I can't even like speak on it. It was crazy.
Is it kind of like you kind of black out once you get in a rhythm and you're just going and going and going? Because
Yeah,
I looked at
for
the
sure.
spreads like during that game. Like you didn't hit a lot of threes, but it just kind of seems like you were either going to the basket or hitting mid range. Like that part of your game
Yeah.
was just clicking. So like, what is that like? Run me through like your mindset during that game.
Honestly, I was just literally taking whatever the defense gave me, and it's just I practice so much, so I see the game very slow. So the one chance I'm open, I got to take advantage of it because of the amount of work I put in, the amount of shot attempts that I'm capable of getting because of the work I put in. And, I I was getting to the rim. I was using my mid range. I shot a lot of free throws that game. So I just really took whatever the defense gave me or whenever chance I got open.
Yeah, we talked about the few teams that you've played against or played with over the years at JWU. People like Bobby Fiorito and Tyreek Jones who played Rhode Island basketball.
Yeah.
Just kind of talk about like that chemistry and how that kind of helped you guys win games over the years as well. Like what that means to you.
Oh, chemistry is everything. You don't win without chemistry for sure. So like these guys, like the guys on my team we're like this. Like we do everything together. We go eat, like we go out, we do everything together. And that comes from, just being brothers, going through the adversity that we go through as a team throughout the whole entire season. Like we try to keep each other, happy because, as every college athlete can like they can all agree with this. Like our sport gets pretty stressful. Well, not even just basketball, but any sport, any college sport, the commitment it can get stressful at times. But as long as you have guys that you know that are going through it with you and that really love you and care about you and want the same goals as you do, that's how that's how the chemistry builds.
Oh yeah, for sure. And kind of going back to what we talked about at the beginning, starting your career with like Cranston East, and then ending it obviously as a 1,000-point scorer. Obviously, a lot of accolades came from this year. 22 points per game in the conference, one of the conference leaders in scoring. Made a conference all first team and all things like that. I mean, just the list goes on. But obviously, again, like that game against Emmanuel was one of your career high with 35 points. What did it kind of mean to you in the postseason to lose in the quarterfinals? And like, what do you think kind of like the difference maker was in that loss opposed to the game that you won and had your career high?
Man, that hurts. Well, to beat them 2 weeks before the playoffs, and then to lose to them in the playoffs, not having a super efficient game, not having a super like a high scoring game, it was it was kind of it bothered me, but I mean, I don't know. It just made me more hungry, and it made me more hungry to want to go back and solidify myself again as a great player. But it was a tough loss. They played me very well, like very well. I couldn't the shots that I was getting the first time we played them, I wasn't getting. I had to create more of my own shot that game, and we didn't play too well as a team. But it is what it is. Hats off to them. They did what they had to do to stop me, and you know maybe I'll see them next year in the playoffs again.
Right. And for me, like writing up these questions for you, obviously I didn't know that you were going to be coming back for a fifth year. So it's good to hear that you only have another shot. And again, past that 1,000 point milestone. But, kind of looking at more like accolades for you, like kind of cap everything off. Like I said, like obviously a great career at Johnson & Wales, but sports management is your major, right? Is correct at Johnson & Wales?
Right.
So after basketball, obviously, you'll see what the future holds if you'll play like at the professional level. But if it wasn't for basketball, like if you weren't gonna pursue a career in basketball, what would your career choice be as far as like sports management? Like, what would you want to get into after college?
I want to be there's a few things I would like to be. But my main two would probably be a Division I basketball coach or an athletic director.
Yeah, so that's what so management is. What are the kind of classes that JWU has been offering you, and how has that kind of helped you like kind of pave a way for your career? Yeah,
there's a lot of classes that JWU has me taking, but there's a whole bunch of classes. Like there's marketing classes, event management classes. I took a coaching class. The business part of like the business aspect in sports, like it's a lot.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of similar. I'm not in the management part. I'm in like the media aspect, but I love going behind the mic, kind of being on camera, being like that kind of face. But which was kind of like the motivation behind the podcast and everything. But as far as you, like that's kind of everything I got for you. But I want to go through a little bit of a speed round before we cap things off. So to start things off, like we mentioned at the beginning, who's your favorite basketball player and why?
My favorite basketball player, Derrick Rose. I don't know why. He just in his prime, he was just that dude. He was a dog. He was just his game was so just like eye catching.
Yeah.
And honestly, one thing I took from him was the floater. Like his floater he didn't miss that.
Yeah, and I'm a diehard Knicks fan, so it kind of hurts me to see him not being able to
hurts me too.
But...
They're over here giving him standing ovations when he checks in the game. Like he's one of the greatest basketball players to play.
Yeah. So final on that, what's your favorite basketball shoe to play in?
My favorite basketball shoe to play in. I got a few. I'll give you about three. I'll give you some Paul Georges, some KD6s, and those LeBron Soldiers I played in high school. I put a lot of work in with those. So with the strap.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forget the number. I feel like I had a pair of those too, but
I don't remember. I had the camouflage ones. I put a lot of work and I busted holes in my shoes and I bought the same pair of shoes like 3 times.
And if you could play on any court or any arena in the world, where would it be and why?
That's a good question. Shoot, I'd probably play in the Staples Center. I mean, not the Staples Center, the Crypto Center now, Crypto Arena, whatever it's called. Just because it's in LA. Shoot, hopefully some celebrities can pop out, But I've never been to LA for basketball, but that's something I would like to do. Or I'd play in the Garden in New York. I definitely would like to play there just because like that's where the Mecca is,
For sure. And what was one of the coolest arenas you've been able to play in so far?
Coolest arena? I got to play at Peach Jam. So definitely Peach Jam was incredible. That was the best experience of my life that I had for basketball, just because of how many NBA players are around, how many college coaches are around, how many future NBA flow. Shoot, there's a lot of kids that I played against that year are in the NBA now, or at least I got to see that are in the NBA now. So Peach Jam is definitely probably the best. I wouldn't call it an arena, but you know what I mean, like
right,
sports
coolest
complex
place, right? Exactly.
Yeah, that was the coolest place to play.
Yeah, and lastly, if you weren't playing basketball, I know we kind of talked about it a little bit, but if you weren't playing basketball, and that kind of wasn't a part of your life, what do you think you'd be doing with your life besides like coaching and all that?
I'd be playing college football.
Oh yeah, would you play football at Cranston East?
So I played my freshman year, but I ended up quitting halfway through the season because the love for it wasn't there, and I felt like I wasn't gonna, like, my biggest goal was to play varsity as a freshman, which I did, but I really wanted to just focus on getting better in basketball, and I didn't have great coaching at football my freshman year on the football team, so I was like, I'm done with this. I'm just gonna focus on basketball. My love for it was fading away for it. And I was just like, I got to make varsity. I had a whole bunch of goals that I wanted to accomplish as a freshman. So I just had to put the football down and just focus on one sport.
Yeah, I gotcha. That's kind of like me, like basketball oriented. That's why I kind of like I said, got into sports media, did all this stuff was because basketball kind of paved the way for everything. So for you, I kind of relate to it a little bit. But as far as all the questions I got, Arias, that's all I got wrapped up for you. I just wanted to know what you thought of Camp's Corner. Who might you want to see as a future guest down the line?
A future guest, I would definitely want to hear my friend, my teammate Josh. My teammate Josh Zangerly, he's from New York. He's a sophomore at JWU. He's going to reach his 1,000 points next year as well. He was our second leading scorer. He puts in a lot of work. I definitely would like more people from Rhode Island to know who he is, because, you know, a lot of Division III guys don't get a lot of love. And, you know, hopefully this podcast and, you know, whatever other D3 athletes that you get to have on your platform can just share their stories. And, you know, but Josh is definitely a guy who's hardworking and super committed to winning, super committed to his grind. I would like him to speak upon it for your platform, just so more guys in Rhode Island can, you know who he is.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the message behind everything. Like, you want to see like people not at the highest level, but still competing at a high level. You know what I mean? Because college basketball at any level, because I used to broadcast for Rick. So like seeing those guys play and then now broadcasting at URI, it's like every division in college basketball, no matter what it is, it's competitive. It's always going to be a high level of play. So I'll definitely reach out to him. And like I said, I appreciate you for joining me. I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. I'll definitely be in contact. Yeah, no problem, man. Anytime. And
we were long overdue. I missed your DM a long time ago, so that was on me. But
I remember that. Yeah, we were supposed to do it a few months ago, but we got it done.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad I got to talk to you. So I'll definitely be in contact soon, man. And good luck the rest of the way through.
Sure, appreciate you.